Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for the Marx Alumni Roundtable on Sustainability. I'll give everyone a couple of seconds to connect to your audio and to get settled. This program is being recorded for the first part before there are breakout rooms. Just so everyone's able to kind of see and really get the feel of the roundtable on our end, on your end, feel free to use the gallery view on your end of on Zoom. This session is being recorded on speaker mode on my end, but I do want you to be able to see all of our wonderful panelists today. So my name is Samantha Bruno. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Services here at Marxe School. I'm joined here with my colleague, Suzanne Grossman. We're very excited to be hosting 5 alumni from Marxe who work in different sectors in the field of sustainability. We'll quickly go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. So I'll start with, well, just because you're on my screen right now, Lauren, if you don't mind just introducing yourself very quickly.
Sure. Thank you, Samantha. My name is Lauren Snyder. I graduated Marxe in 2022 after getting my master's in public affairs and specializing in sustainability. And the opportunity to learn so many aspects is what appealed me and attracted me to Marxe. And I worked as a corporate consultant and also with the UN Global Compact and also with American International Group. And I have 5 years of experience in sustainability and look forward to speaking with you.
Great. Thank you so much. Anna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Deste. I am an international student from Venice, Italy. I graduated with Lauren same year, and I've been working in sustainability for the past few years. Before, I was working for an energy company, and now I work for the Venice Sustainability Foundation as a project manager on projects revolving around energy transition and protection of the environment of the lagoon system here in Venice.
Great, thank you. Maia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maia Roseval. I'm the Sustainability Manager at Farmingdale State College. Farmingdale is a mid-sized public university, pretty much right in the middle of Long Island, and I'm housed in the Facilities and Operations Department. I've been here almost 2 years, and so I work on all things sustainability, from biodiversity and habitat protection to green purchasing to student engagement and education. So it's a very widespread position, and I'm really excited to be talking to you all today to just tell you a little bit about what sustainability looks like in higher education.
Great. Alex.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. Really thankful to be here with you all and with some great Marxe alum as well. Quickly on me, I spent the first decade of my career in the private sector doing close to the opposite of mission-driven work. And I knew that I wanted to find a role that I just cared more about. That's how I found my way to Marxe. And I think I expected to go into the public sector or a nonprofit, but personally for me, I was struggling to kind of find roles that maximize the skill set that I'd already built. And I was fortunate to find the right overlap for me in the climate tech space, working for a company called BlocPower that's focused on making it easier and more affordable to reduce carbon pollution from buildings, and really kind of focused on trying to do that in an equitable fashion. Looking forward to meeting you all today.
Great. And last but not least, Elizabeth.
Hi, everybody. I'm excited to meet you all. So I am currently the communications coordinator at the Office of Energy and Sustainability at New York City Public Schools. I've been in this role for almost a year, and I started right after graduating the Marxe program, also a public administration student with a concentration in urban development and sustainability. My story is pretty similar to Alex in that I am a career changer. Prior to working in sustainability, I was interested in it, but I was working in careers, roles in like fashion and media. I did have some communications experience prior, but was very interested in pivoting to climate. And so that's how I ended up at Marxe and in this role. So I'm excited to talk with you all today.
Great. Well, thank you so much for those brief introductions, and we'll get started with a couple questions. And actually, I'm going to start with you, Alex, because you had mentioned that sort of transition into, I guess, like a public service mission oriented a goal, I suppose. But can you just talk to us about how you got into the sustainability sector? Um, and then what were some of those like personal and professional motivations to get into that space? And I guess specifically for you, like how was that transition taking that motivation from, the private sector to like climate tech, which I guess is still in a way private, but go into that, go into that a little bit more.
Sure. Well, I think maybe one thing we all share in common, being part of the Marxe community, is that we're looking to do work that we find personally impactful, and we know that we can probably do our best work in a role that we're excited about and where we're really feel personally connected to the mission. The two areas that I think I was really hoping to go into as I completed my master's at Marxe was either something that's focused on economic justice or something that's fighting the climate crisis. And I think what you might find in a lot of roles in the sustainability space or the climate tech space is that there is a lot of overlap between some of these issue areas, because there may be policies or new technologies that are designed to go and help folks live a greener life, reduce carbon pollution. But as so often happens, it's a lot easier to do that if you're wealthier or have access or knowledge to some of these new incentive programs or some of the new technology that's coming online. So for me, the personal motivation was there, and I was really excited to see that there was overlap with a lot of these organizations. And I kind of so behind me is something called a heat pump, which you may or may not be familiar with. I wasn't familiar with until I joined BlocPower and actually kind of heard about what a heat pump was on a podcast. So I think the lesson there for me is that this space is so vast, and you might think, oh, I'm really excited about trying to get more rooftop solar in place or trying to help improve our waterways. But I would just really encourage you to keep digging and keep learning. And if you're on LinkedIn, follow as many different companies. You'll find more and more, or organizations as well. You'll find more and more. I think just niches that might appeal to you and might best connect with your skill set, because this is really a constantly evolving space, and there's a lot out there to learn. And so if you feel like you're not quite sure where you fit in yet, I would say like keep going, because there's a lot to discover.
Great, thanks. And then I'll pass it over quickly to our second career changer, Elizabeth. So what were sort of your personal and professional motivations to really stick into sustainability? And I know in your bio you had mentioned your previous career in fashion and retail that kind of was the springboard for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely got interested in sort of the concept of like circularity and waste diversion or prevention when I was working in the fashion industry. And I also was just sort of curious about climate change and sort of like the ways in which we are managing that or sort of creating solutions. And as I was trying to sort of create a role for myself or figure out where I fit in the fashion industry that is aligned with climate action, I sort of came to the conclusion personally. Now, there are plenty of great roles in that industry for sustainability and climate action, don't get me wrong. But I figured out that for me, I wanted to go into policy, which seems sort of out of left field. But as I learned more about what sustainability looks like in different industries, I kind of came to the my own personal opinion is sort of like the best way to go about that. And the best strategy is for governments to create policies that companies are then inclined to follow, and that's how they become more sustainable. And I sort of on the side too was very interested in some other things around my community. Like I do a lot of like hobby gardening and stewardship in open spaces, was volunteering at community composting sites. So it kind of all came together. Like I am not only interested in policy because I think that's the best way to kind of move things forward in climate action, but I want to do it at like the local level. That's what appeals to me. I think it's, just it was just right for me personally. And so it kind of all like kind of converged at this place of like, I want to study public administration. I want to go into public or nonprofit with a local focus in New York City for climate action. So that's where I got started. And I just also want to echo Alex's point that like I went into this program not exactly knowing where I would fit into this. I did not go into it very clear of like, I'm going to be a communications person working in climate. I had no clue really ultimately. So definitely keep an open mind and understand that like the role you may end up absolutely like killing it at in 10 years, as you're on this journey may not exist yet.
Yeah, that's a really good point that like it's, the job that you might end up in doesn't even exist yet. So really to keep like those options open. I'm seeing everyone and all our speakers nod. And I'm going to pass this question now. We have, 3 people here who have had sustainability on their minds for a very long time in their careers. I think I've met with probably each of you and kind of had started those conversations. So I want to pass it to you, Anna, first, or I guess third, about like what were the personal and professional motivations that got you into sustainability, and especially now that you're doing it in Venice, back home, like what are sort of like have those motivations changed, or what did they differ when you were taking classes at Marxe?
Thank you, Samantha. For me, my choice to focus on sustainability has always been like growing up. I've always been feel involved in the climate change issue. I felt it on the island that I live in. Venice is very delicate, has a very difficult environment to live in, and so I was always felt attracted to the topic. But growing up, I wasn't really feeling comfortable with the advocacy aspect or like rioting around with that didn't feel my space. I always felt like if I wanted to do something meaningful and impactful, I was going to help, for example, government or people in design and study project that could be implemented. So not only from the advocacy point is important to make voices heard, there has to be someone that hears them and help shape the narrative from the other side. So that's what drew me to the career in sustainability. That said, I never imagined working in a foundation. I always felt like I would be going into like government, not necessarily here in Venice, but from a governmental perspective. That was my career goal. And picking up on what Elizabeth said, that the job that I'm doing now wasn't invented when I was studying. The foundation that I'm working at is brand new, just a couple of years, and I was reading about it in the papers when I was still in Marxe. When I was in New York, I was researching every newspaper, every website that barely mentioned it, and I said, that is exactly what I wanted to do. This is exactly the kind of combination of a non-profit, governmental, and academia that all combines together and creates something new and something useful for the city. And so when I came back, I had the opportunity and I actually got it. So this is the fit for me.
Great. Maia, what's your take on your motivations?
Yes, well, similarly to Anna, I was just always so passionate about sustainability. I grew up in an environmentally conscious household. So when I had to decide what I wanted to do with my career, it just was the natural next step. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So I specifically got my bachelor's and my first master's in environmental sustainability. Like that was it for me. Of course, very shortly after I graduated, COVID hit. So there were hiring freezes. It was just not a great time to be looking for your first, my first position. And that's when I stumbled upon this Marxe program, and I thought, wow, like what an amazing opportunity to really sharpen my skills. And so it was like that intrinsic passion that really motivated me to work in this space. And that's what led me here. And also my position was brand new as well. I am the first sustainability manager at Farmingdale State College, and I was hired in tandem with an energy manager, and these did not exist prior to August of 2022.
Oh, that's so cool to hear.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Lauren, yeah, what are you, I should really say Dr. Lauren Snyder, like what were your motivations to kind of be in that in the sustainability space? I know you also have a very extensive research and policy background as well. And so yeah, if you could go into that.
Sure. Yep, absolutely. Thank you. As others have mentioned, I am also a career changer. My previous, as you know, the degrees were in international relations and economics, which I really did not utilize in practice, but I did work in the nonprofit space and figured out eventually I really want to impact in sustainability. It was a growing field in late 2018. I mean, it's been around much longer, of course, but it was kind of exploding at the time. And I was looking for a career change where I could use my skill sets, as Alex said, but also match my personal interests of wanting to make probably an impact on the climate crisis. I think initially drew me in. So I did a lot of informational interviews, talked to a lot of people, and said, yes, there are jobs to be had. But then I found out, sort of thought I need to refine my skills, build the networks. And so Marxe offered me that wonderful combination of, learning more about policy and conducting research, but really importantly, building those networks.
Thank you. All right. So the next question, and actually I'm going to start again with you, Lauren, just so we can work backwards a little bit. What are some of the connections that you've seen from the classes that you've taken at Marxe, whether it's like a project or an assignment or anything? What kind of connections are you seeing that to the work that you're doing in sustainability?
So absolutely, yes. There are so many connections that you can apply from the academic environment, take with you to the job environment. For those in their final year, Capstone is a wonderful example of project management, whether it's for helping clients do their ESG reports, helping them figure out what are their emissions targets, commitments they want to make, how to develop those roadmaps to achieve it. So, you have to define the objective, identify the stakeholders, figure out the scope of it, timelines, and organize it and deliver it all within the deadline that's specified. Equally, I would also give an example of writing policy briefings at the UN Global Compact's Environment and Climate Team, for example. I was often asked to produce very short executive level summaries based on very technical information, such as the Science-Based Targets Initiative, which was funded by the UN Global Compact, and it is a climate science-oriented validation of corporations who are making net zero and emissions reduction targets to say this is actually the case and not just talking about it. And lastly, I would point to data analysis being really crucial. So the statistics that you may endure does have concrete applications in the real world. It helps to, you can gain the skills there to learn accuracy and completeness, which is obviously used in emissions reductions calculations that I've done, for example. So I think there are so many connections.
Great, thank you.
And I think another 20 minutes.
No, I think we all either had a collective sigh or eye roll about statistics just now, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, I'll go to you.
Lauren, I think you have such good points about how it really directly translates into your role. I would also just say the Research 2 course in terms of building surveys and designing and just like how to ask the right questions is something that is going to come up a lot more often than not in your roles. For me, when I was thinking about this, it's a little bit more broad and like abstract, but ultimately, so many of my courses, what I liked about them is that there was practical application that you could really take wherever you want to go with it. And it was the opportunity to shape thinking about and becoming more fluent in the realm you're interested in. So, like, I'm interested in New York City climate policy. So I was able to take whatever the assignment was in courses and like that was my focus because a lot of the times professors will shape your assignments where it's like you can kind of do whatever topic you want, but it needs to be in this format. These are the questions. This is what you need to answer. So there are, endless reports out there about climate policies and programs in New York. So it was a way for me to sort of shape that research and go into it, not just like kind of reading everything with like no end in sight, but to look at things and really like have them be shaped by the assignments that we were doing. I was able to become more fluent in the programs that are going on across all the different agencies. So when I went into this role, I have a broad understanding of kind of what's going on at various agencies. And, like right now, my office is implementing a lot of the goals that have been set in the most recent citywide climate plan, Plan YC. So going into this, I was pretty familiar with that document and familiar with what the other goals are in different agencies, just because I was able to do that in like our housing policy course. I was able to do something about like climate financing for building, retrofits based on one of the assignments we had. For my capstone, I was able to shape it very much on the subject I was interested in. So that's my answer.
Yeah, and I think you actually really bring up a really good point, is that a lot of the assignments that we do here at Marxe, like you're kind of given a prompt for, do some research into an organization or an agency that you're interested in. And it really does give you the freedom to kind of look into those different organizations, agencies, et cetera. All right, Alex.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to hear a lot of the same from me. There is so much opportunity within the coursework, within the projects, in the classes you're going through to go and learn. And I think sometimes, you have to challenge yourself a little bit, right? It might be easier to lean into a subject matter that you're familiar with, and you can do a good job and maybe get a good grade working a little bit less hard. I think we've all done that, but I just really want to encourage everyone to step outside the comfort zone sometimes and really use the great opportunities in the classes and also select classes, and of course whether it's like greening and growing cities or environmental policy or even my communications class. It's an opportunity to go and do a project and learn in these areas that you hope to develop some subject matter expertise. And so I really just echo what's been said around, this is your opportunity to go and develop a knowledge of these areas that absolutely will apply and will be valuable as you go and seek roles in this space. And another way to look at it is you're doing the homework that you're going to have to do down the road anyways. And I still rely on a lot of what I did, including, yes, a lot of the research and analysis too, work. And for me, it was actually the logic models that I found really, really interesting, just as a means to really test that what you think is going to happen through a policy or a strategy, that you can really think through how that's going to play out and in real life. So yeah, there's just endless opportunity, and happy to recommend some specific coursework if anyone's looking for advice on that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the thing I remember about logic models is always like, just keep asking why, and if you can still keep going, there's more to that model that you can keep going. All right, Maya.
Yeah, so like everyone else, there's so much that I use in my everyday job now that I learned at the Marx School. A word that really stuck out to me that Elizabeth said was the word practical. Like that's what this degree was for me. I learned so many practical skills that translate so well into my working space now. More specifically, one of the most valuable classes I took was with Don Weissenen, the communications in the public setting, which is just 100% a public speaking class for anyone who's taken it. But now I have to brief my president of the college on what I'm doing and how we're reaching our goals. I have to give presentations to the cabinet, and I learned how to do that in a succinct and meaningful way through that class. But not only in those like kind of high stake presentation scenarios, but also just every day. Like I almost joke around sometimes, like, what good are my programs if I don't share what I'm doing, or if I don't tell people what I'm achieving in my office? And right now I am just a one-woman office. So it's my job to make sure that I can communicate what I'm doing well. And that's exactly what I learned in the Marx School. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. And Anna.
For me, so many wonderful classes, by the way. Sometimes it was even difficult to choose between them. Like if I do this, then I have to sacrifice the other one. You have like a limited amount of time, marks before you graduate. There's a limited number of things that you can do. I would say that the core classes definitely teach you some transferable skills that can either be applied in sustainability or finance or in any other career that you may follow that are useful for any day. I would think about like budgeting or project management and public speaking. These are things that will always be useful to you. In my personal case, I tried to design my workload to lead me to sustainability career in a like global perspective. I took classes on like climate change at the global level, climate change at the national level, urban sustainability, and then of course there's my capstone that also shaped my mindset. It really is for me taking the classes that help you shape your mindset for the career that you want to pursue later. Like sorry, it is a little late and I haven't had my cup of coffee now, but what I will say is help shape the mind for the project and the job that you want to do after. For example, here in the foundation, I follow a project focused on urban sustainability mostly, and some of the classes that I took helped me understand the perspective that I have to have for my job. It is not only about the sustainability, it is also what's the social component of it, what's the economic component of it. Not all the partners that you're gonna interact with will be interested in the project for the same reasons that you have, so you need to be careful and mindful of other components of the people that you engage with. What if there is like a social rights that you need to consider? What if there is an economic perspective? What if there is a policy that you need to consider? And the classes that I took helped me understand that there is like an interconnected set of questions and answers that you need to consider when designing and implementing a project.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. All right, so our next question is what is a challenge that you faced in searching for a job in sustainability? And a piece of advice that you would give to someone starting out their search. And I want to start with Maya, because you did mention that you are the first of your role. So curious, like how you navigate that question, and also like, how did you find the role when it hadn't existed before?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually stumbled upon this position in a listserv that I was on. I kind of was in this sphere, that being like sustainability in higher education, when I was getting my degree. So I was an intern for the people that were serving in this position just at other schools. And that's kind of where I fell in love with the position. But in that role, I was on this listserv. It's called ASHE, like the Association for Sustainability in Higher Education. And I saw this position opening, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like around the block from my house. And this is exactly what I want to do. And it was actually energy and sustainability. And then they split it up when my colleague, who's an engineer, was a really great fit for energy, and I had a background in sustainability. So I actually secured this position prior to graduating. So I can't actually speak to the challenge of getting into the sustainability sector, because I was fortunate in that regard. But my advice to people who are trying to get into sustainability would be that, I think it's really important to convey the passion that you have, and a theme from all the panelists that I'm hearing today, that we want to make meaningful change. I think that's so paramount. But it's also really important to show that you have the problem solving skills. Like, if you're getting this degree, you absolutely have them, and you can apply them in the sustainability sector to make meaningful change, because that's really what sustainability is. It's all about making change, facing challenges, and really challenging the status quo. And that's just never easy to do. So if you can show that you can rise up to that challenge, then I think you're in a really good position.
Great, wonderful. Anna, we'll go back to you quickly for this question.
So for me, I unfortunately didn't start with a career already lined up. If you can, I'm sure that would be a smoother transition. For me, one of the challenges that I have to face was the fact that I was still in the United States, and I didn't know exactly how my situation could follow through. I was either searching back in my country, I was searching in the United States, and that kind of a duality was already a challenge per se, because if I wanted to stay in the United States, I had to find a sponsor for my work employment. If I wanted to go back, most of the companies weren't exactly sure about the timeline that would require me to travel back. So I would say that was one of the challenges that I had to face right away, either deciding on the spot if I wanted to stay there, and how to secure a job that would provide me with the working visa, or if I wanted to go back. Other than that, I would say once we graduate with a career in sustainability, you don't really have exactly a specific job. So you kind of have to imagine what your degree and your interest will be best aligned with the job offer. And also, not all companies post the same job offer with the same name. So when you search with a job engine, that will be like a challenge. Lots of hours spent on LinkedIn searching with keywords or climate change, environment, sustainability. And then again, I had to do it in 2 languages. So that was double the workload. But I would say, if you follow some companies that you admire, or you work with other institutions, or maybe you did some prior volunteering, that will help you shape the research that you do. For me, as I mentioned before, I heard about the foundation that I'm currently at through friends back in Venice, saying, oh, this is something to be a rumor, there might be something going on there, keep up with that. And I kept track with that for 2 years, because also the pandemic was happening, so everything kind of stopped or very slowed down. There was no communication on this particular job opportunity. So I had to be consistent and follow through with that, because if you're really interested in a position because you know you are the right fit for it, of course you need employment prior if the job is not available, but also keep in mind to check back with them in order to see if something else comes up that you might align with.
Wonderful, wonderful. Lauren.
Yep, I would say the challenge initially was to find that entry-level position, and hence Baruch, which Marx. So all of you have that step covered already. I think the advices I would say give is take advantage of the resources you have, which is being in college, you can do internships at multiple types of companies or NGOs. There you can learn what you're interested in, perhaps more importantly, what you're not interested in. I would also, I don't know, I presume it's still there, the Washington semester, which has an internship built in as a core element. The Marxe Career Service was also instrumental, Suzanne, in helping me connect with the Weizmann Center for International Business, also part of Baruch. There's a CSRS monitor, which is a project that enables students to gain work experience part-time by looking at and reading through Fortune Global 500 companies' annual ESG reports and rating them. And it really gives you a visibility into many of the topics in sustainability. I would also say, keep up with current news to know that, for example, ESG is less welcome in the US political landscape currently, where sustainability is very accepted. And last advice, concrete advice I would say, is learn your PowerPoint and Excel. That will come in extremely handy and be impressive to those that are looking for new employees.
Great. Alex.
Yeah, I think I would echo a lot of what Anna said around, it can be challenging to search based on titles. There are a lot of different names, and even the responsibilities might be described in a way that you're not familiar. I would really encourage everyone to try and build a list of companies that you're interested in, and then just routinely check the job boards there and focus on required skills that match up with what you have, and don't be intimidated by a lack of direct sector experience either. I think if you can come into an interview and show that you've gone and done some homework and that you're excited about what that particular organization or company is focused on, that's what really matters. There's a lot of folks that are going to be in the same shoes, same places as you, right? With not a lot of experience in a really new and evolving space. Also just want to mention two job boards, Climate Base and Terra, which are both focused on the space and are a great way to start to build that list of companies.